and her name was Sidehammer, so I took the name. But
All right,
my
we're
sister
live
did a.
now. Just so you know,
Oh,
we're live
my
right
sister
now.
did one of those.
Cool.
My sister did one of those blood tests, and there's no Indian blood, no native blood in our veins at all. So like,
Oh.
So just a blatant lie.
so who the heck's name do I have? But
Hey everyone,
whoever Lady Sidehammer was.
welcome to the next Chebcast. Today we're discussing Jinx's book, which is called The Vile Art of Necromancy. And we're here with Jinx.
I'd be shocked if I wasn't here.
Yes. And Rambles.
Hey.
And Sidehammer.
Oh.
So as far as I'm aware, Jinx's book is kind of like an encyclopedia or biography written by a necromancer. And it goes into like his own findings of necromancy and kind of documents it and talks about it, but it's also a little bit like a novel. Am I right, Jinx, or have I got that all wrong?
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary. To give basically and summarized ideas to what the book exactly is, it's when you're in, say, a game, and someone has decided to write down their innermost thoughts and feelings as you come across a journal entry. That's kind of what they've gone for in my book, where there is a necromancer known as Master Tyrannus, who is a necromancer who is about to go through the process of lichdom. But while the magics and the poisons are taking effect, he decided he'd write down all that he knows about necromancy and all that could be gleaned from looking into other worlds surrounding necromancy. That's the structure of the book. In terms of the content, it's essentially just a 101 guide to what necromancy is, what things can be done with it, and most importantly, what kind of necromancy is shown in different kinds of fictional media.
And is that media presented as if they were special worlds, or is it presented as if he found these and reading our world and they're like games and stuff?
No, you're exactly right. So how I've structured it is there's an entire chapter dedicated to it called Necromancy and Media. And how I've structured it is essentially that he not only dabbles in necromancy, he also dabbles in astral projection and clairvoyance. So he's able to astrally project himself, and while doing so, he's able to see into other dimensions or worlds. And in those dimensions or worlds, those are the other forms of media that are seen. So, for example, he's able to astrally project and see the world of the Elder Scrolls, or astrally project and see the world of World of Warcraft and things like that.
Okay, so they're not game worlds. They're little physical worlds where he can interact in.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that's cool. Cool. Yeah, I was reading the tagline. And I was like, is this a novel or is it an encyclopedia or something? So
it's kind of a combination of both, really. I'm mostly an encyclopedia with light, immersive novel elements, essentially.
That's neat. Kind of like Xanathar's, kind of written by it's kind of like written by Xanathar as his guide to everything. But I mean, the Dungeons and Dragons novel or book thing. I should clarify for the podcast. Perhaps not everyone knows what Xanathar is, or who Xanathar was.
I believe it's like a god from Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. He's the Lich God.
No, Xanathar was an explorer, I believe.
In real life?
He has a guide to everything. No, it's in Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. Good thing I explained it. All right.
I thought that was like Polo or whatever. There's some guy called like... who cares?
Oh, Volo.
Yeah, Volo.
Maybe it's Volo's guide to everything.
Yeah, Volo's guide to everything,
Okay. I was wrong.
No, Xanathar is like the god of money or some shit. I gotta Google that now.
Now it's Volo's guide to everything, but Xanathar also has a guide. Anyways, I was wrong. Mock me for it. Okay.
That's a Elder Scrolls god, isn't it? Xanathar, Elder Scrolls. Divine god of trade or something. Yeah, okay. Doesn't matter. Anyway,
Yes. So tell us more. Like what happens in the beginning of the book?
So, to give a brief summary, I suppose, as to the exact events that are happening, uh, as I said, the necromancer in question is named Master Tyrannus. And essentially, Master Tyrannus has your standard tropey necromancer. You know, talks in an evil voice, speaks with insane ramblings, and wants to take over the world. You know, standard stuff. And basically, at the start of the book, he's already begun the process of lichdom. I think most of you, if you've played Oblivion, will remember the quest for the Dark Brotherhood, in which there's a necromancer becoming a lich, and he's basically waiting until it happens. So he wanders around and then you assassinate him. Well, this is basically that same concept, but instead of just waiting around, the necromancer decides to instead write down everything. And there's a wide variety of topics.
I like that. I like that concept, by the way. The like this guy's bored and he wants to get out everything before he either fails or succeeds.
Indeed. So the different parts of the book. So the first part is obviously talking about what necromancy is. So it covers the different aspects of the magic school of necromancy. So you've got, your standard resurrection of the dead, communication with the dead, using dark magic in general, disease magic, and of course this also blends into the aspect of achieving immortality.
Can I ask, is this definition of necromancy based on your personal take on necromancy, or is it a generalized, or should I say, do you have a dictionary definition involved? Did you look at the etymology? It literally means death speaking, or death communication type of site.
It's essentially a combination of everything. So It starts off with basic ideas as to what fantasy necromancy is, which is something I very importantly split in the book by essentially convening the ideas of fantasy necromancy and real world necromancy, which goes on to the second chapter. And the second chapter is about the history of real world necromancy. So it goes into the ideas of shamanism, into the times of ancient Greece and Rome, into the Middle Ages, and modern day, of course. And it even goes into the concept of the origins of necromancy in fiction, which is where the fantasy necromancer comes from.
I have to say, I appreciate that.
Cool. Yes, I thought it would be good to include everything. As I said, it's both an in-universe immersive experience while also being a guide to people who maybe don't know anything about it. As an example, I show my parents have read this and they now get what necromancy is. And I mean, one of them's a teacher and the other's a doctor, so I'm pretty sure that's a pretty good winning aspect of that, I'd say.
Nice. I forgot what I was gonna say. The words just literally fell out of my mouth, or fell out of my head, because Cheb messaged me and someone.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Thanks, Cheb.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh, shamanism, and So I recently learned that the lich wasn't really a thing until actually D&D popularized it in Dungeons and Dragons, or Wizards of the Coast popularized in Dungeons and Dragons.
That's true, yeah.
Or whoever wrote it. So the phylactery is just a word for container and stuff like that. And
it was from I actually
Hebrew.
It's from the Jewish.
Hebrew or something.
It's a Jewish thing, yeah.
It is a like a Jewish thing where it's a prayer box effectively where they keep strips of the Torah.
Oh, yeah. So I was just kind of interested in that and finding out the real world origins of that recently. So
I think it would have been more interesting that instead of picking the word phylactery to describe a container for your soul, they should have picked the word divot, because you know what? Do you know what a Divik box is?
Oh, Divik with
Yeah,
K
Divik
or
Divik box. Yeah,
No clue.
with a
no?
cut
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a
I
C.
thought you said divot.
No, that's
It's like a box
that's
of bolts or something.
sweetheart.
Not a rivet. Not a rivet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Divik.
Isn't a divot like a hole or a depression in
Yeah,
something?
God damn it.
like a ding. Yeah.
A Divik box is a box in where they trap a demon or a djinn. Yeah.
They what? A Jinny or a Jin?
Like a spirit, a ghost, a demon, or a djinn. They trap it in this
Trap.
this box.
I didn't quite catch the word trap. Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
Am I not coming in? Hold on.
No, I'm just-
You're fine.
No, you're perfectly fine. I'm just.
So that would
I missed words of
that would be the equivalent of a genie lamp then.
Close. That comes from more of the Solomon stuff. Because in the Lesser Key of King Solomon, it shows you a lot of techniques for trapping spirits and also like containing and taming and basically utilizing demons for certain things. The whole Lesser Key of King Solomon was all about it was like a primitive form of Pokemon.
It was, yeah.
If you look
I've
into
read
it, it's like it gives you all these different sigils, all for taming, training, and binding a demon to you to do your bidding. You know, or binding a djinn or some spirit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the guy writing that. I mean, just like in real world, without any of the superstitions. Just like this book is gonna be awesome, and people are gonna freak out later down the line. They're gonna think it's all real and shit.
All of them did it as educational material.
Yeah, a lot of them were trying to.
Excuse that that one pastor dude used to like label Pokemon as being satanic.
There you go.
I thought actually the Keys of Solomon were written as like a, while they told you how to do it, but it was excused in a way that it was meant to warn you or show someone how to find it, so it could be rooted out.
Rewritten versions are like the paperback versions are not going to have like the actual stuff in it because they were mostly plagiarized and trademarked by like these distributor companies, but like the stuff that they borrow from, some of it is actually real, like from like old books.
Mm-hmm.
So how much of it is actually legitimate is hard to say, but I think that they found like a couple of them were actually come directly from Jewish mysticism, and then the rest of it is just bullshit, and a lot of it's just misinterpretation.
Mm-hmm.
The ironic part is like the head of the company that does a lot of these hokey magic books, he's kind of an anti-Semite.
Oh.
I don't remember the name of the guy though. It was a known guy who was also he was one of the affiliates with Anton LaVey. That's all I know. So now I could be wrong. I could be completely like spewing massive garbage here. I do apologize if I am. But if you think I'm wrong, anybody in the comments, if you think I'm wrong, please like verify the information because I feel like this is correct. But if I am incorrect, please correct me. You have the right to. You are the internet. You have the right to correct me.
Yes, please savagely correct her. I want to see brutal rigor of the coals.
How wrong I am.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in my book, Signhammer, I don't have an origin as to the lich, though the word itself is an Old English word, just meaning corpse or death. So, yeah. But yeah, you're correct in that it's D&D that actually conjoined the idea of a lich. But I actually, as part of the book, I have what I've called the Necromancy, which is a bestiary for undead. So it has different creatures in it, such as skeletons, zombies, spirits, ghouls, vampires, and constructs. And each of them get their own section that, in coming with an illustrated example, kind of like an anatomical textbook.
I appreciate the name.
Yes, I was quite proud of that. But the necromancy area is basically designed as a way for people to know what kind of minions are used by necromancers and exactly the kind of things that they can do and what they're useful for. For example, I actually put in that part that the skeleton is the favorite minion of Master Tyrannus, as he finds that their versatility is incredibly useful. And they're able to do a wide variety of tasks that are not just combat, which is what he finds so useful about them. And of course, talks about different things that are useful for them. For example, using different ritualistic processes to make their bones harder, or using metallic substances or leather straps to increase the power of the joints, helping them stay more rigid and things like that. And they're all different kinds of varieties of different information when it comes to that kind of thing.
I'd just like to point out that you guys are all warned that we've got a few actuallys preparing in our chat, so just be careful.
Awesome!
Oh god!
Oh boy!
You've summoned. You've opened Pandora's box. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Where are we streaming to, by the way?
That's the idea.
So, in addition to that, other sections of the book include, as I mentioned before, a section about necromancy and different media. So, the different fictional universes I chose to cover were the Elder Scrolls, Warhammer, which is a good one, Dungeons and Dragons, mainly Forgotten Realms, just because it's the simplest to describe. Diablo, which was an interesting one. I chose Game of Thrones because it's a very popular one, so that would be very well known. It's only one faction, but it's still interesting enough to talk about.
No shame on that, man.
And
you
of course,
the trend a bit.
Well, the necromancy in Game of Thrones is just literally, soldiers too angry to die.
Yeah, and of course Warcraft, which was
too angry to die.
And Warcraft as well, though Warcraft's probably the one I've got the least familiarity with, but I thought that I might as well cover it because it's an important one, obviously.
It used to be like, if I can sort of intervene and go on another tangent about the Warcraft necromancy. Warcraft necromancy used to be fucking like pretty straightforward, pretty reasonable back then when they were going through the story of it. In game, mind you, because back then they had actual books around the world that you could go and read lore about it. According to the books that I read in Stratholme, there was necromancy was literally just a form of science that was combined with arcane magic. It was it actually didn't involve too many demons, although demons did get involved with it. It was just straightforward. It was just a science. And then Shadowlands shat all over that and decided to pull more lore out of their ass that made no sense. Like I would have rather they just made another big bad guy than making another fucking world. Another realm of Oblivion, although no, not really Oblivion because it's a Blizzard trademark, but like fucking I don't want to go into the afterlife world because, like, one, how many afterlives does it have? How many worlds do they need to create? It's just like, come on, just if you want to bring the Lich King back, just bring the fucking Lich King back. You can have you can have a zombie event again, but like, fuck, I hate Shadowlands.
Clearly, there's only one saving factor that could have come from it, which is giving us a necromancy class in World of Warcraft.
They didn't even do that.
Exactly.
They just gave you the aesthetic for, like, the mage and the warlock characters. They allowed the warlocks to be able to summon, like, a flesh golem or something. And then they gave, like, dark spells to the mage or something stupid like that. They had the opportunity to give you legitimately a necromancy
spells.
And they didn't. Fuck it.
Spooky sorcerer. What was it?
Spooky mage.
Spooky mage.
Edgy mage. Edgy purple mage. That's all it is.
Fun. But yes, Warcraft was one of the world that I chose to speak about as well, and that the one I probably have the most familiarity with is the Elder Scrolls. Although I did make one slight mistake in that I'm gonna this is a well actually that I can't probably bring back on the book. In that I spoke on it saying that necromancy in the Elder Scrolls universe was inherently evil due to the fact that soul manipulation is used whenever necromancy is involved. That's technically correct, but I eventually found one or two instances of using Daedric Animus to power necromancy rather than souls, which is a form of soul manipulation. It's just using the soul of a demon, so it's, you know, it's morally questionable in and of itself, but that's one thing I kind of sort of got a little bit incorrect.
How dare you?
I know, it's just a real pain to find out. I'm like, oh, well, guess I gotta recall everything, put everything back. So aside from that, the other sections of the book, the last remaining ones, I decided to make one about necromantic warfare, which is essentially a Sun Tzu guide to necromancy. It talks about different aspects if you're planning to become a necromancer and going to war. So it talks about different horde tactics, using attrition in order to get a better advantage, using plagues and disease warfare, using corruption and manipulation, and even formation tactics, which are utilized by your minions. So doing stuff like, if you have a mixture of different minions, using your zombies at the front in order to become the meat bags, which are hit with all the weapons, and then having your skeletons or other frontline infantry that can't take as many blows going in between each of the zombie corpses to attack by way of using it like a phalanx would, by hitting through a shield wall, which was a really fun thing to write. And I enjoyed that greatly.
Sounds like it. I hope you made sure that you made sure to mention that skeletons are much lighter than
oh yeah.
zombie.
One thing I mentioned actually mentioned is environmental advantages. So one thing I pointed out was actually a really good way to launch an assault on a port town is to just simply have all your creatures come from the sea, because skeletons can walk on the bottom of the ocean, and so can zombies. So why not just have them? Why not just have them emerge from the sea? Because you can fight halfway submerged, and the humans cannot, because they don't need to, and that can be a massive advantage. Mm-hmm.
So said Barbosa.
Take
a walk.
Buoyant, the living are.
We have a lot more oxygen in our bodies.
Yes.
More gases.
And the final chapter is talking about the process of lichdom. So, if you want to know what that process is, you'll have to read the chapter.
Is it your own concoction, or did you mention the different ways in different franchises?
It's explanation as to what lichdom is and a process that might be involved, but I guess you'll have to find out.
Alrighty then.
But it's mostly just a talk as to what liches are and why necromancers would want to become a lich, essentially. But, yeah.
Sure.
Hysterical Non-Agent has a question. He says, can't you summon undead from some place called the Soul Cairn or something like that? I believe that's just conjuration magic, right? In the Elder Scrolls.
Yes. So that is specifically something that you can do by making bargains with the ideal masters in the Elder Scrolls universe, who are themselves very, very bad entities. They're necromancers that became gods through a process that is never explained. But they became a god, and essentially the souls of people who are still alive in the Soul Cairn can eventually become the undead minions of the Soul Cairn, which is what you're able to then summon. Think of it like summoning a Dremora, but you're pulling from a different form of Oblivion. You're pulling it from the Soul Cairn, which is in its own private sort of plane, essentially. Now, if we want to call that necromancy or not is up to debate, because you technically are controlling an undead skeleton, but you didn't bring something back to life. You just pulling something out from oblivion like you would a Daedroth. So yeah, it's entirely its own kind of thing.
It's not really necromancy.
I don't know. It depends on your own personal interpretation, I presume.
Oh yeah.
Well, then
Now,
the
what if,
Mages Guild
the world
is.
is... Oh, go.
Sorry, go on. I was just going to say the Mages. Well, the Mages Guild is okay with it, so I guess they don't consider it necromancy.
Then again, the Mages Guild doesn't really have any predefined notions of what necromancy really is or not, especially in Skyrim, because you don't really interact with them. You interact with the college, which is an entire separate organization, and they don't care about necromancy. They have an active practitioner on campus who doesn't really care. But aside from that, I presume it's mostly just more of a gameplay mechanical thing rather than a lore flavorful thing at the moment.
Ah, okay.
Especially because it comes from a DLC.
Gotcha. Well, that sounds actually really fun. And
Yes.
Where can one find this amazing book of vileness and necrotic beingness?
Well, the book is currently available for purchase on Amazon. It's got its own page, which I hope is probably linked somewhere. So, linked somewhere around this video. It's available on there as an ebook, as a paperback, or a hardcover, depending on what your preferences are. It's also available on the Kindle's free book service, which is like a subscription service thing. You look up and then you can read whatever books. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, which is terrible of me. But yeah, the service is available there, and you're able to read it if you wanted to utilize free books or whatever on Kindle. And if you are in the UK, it's also available from your local library. You can request it from the National Archive. There's a copy for each of the regions of the UK. So, I mean, if you live here, then now's the time to call upon it.
GG, man.
Thank you.
Great job.
It's also present in a couple local bookstores, but unless you are present in Scotland, I don't know if you would be present to see them there. But yeah, they are there if you have any interest.
If I ever decide to take a trip to Scotland, you know I will go to at least one of those bookstores and see if I can acquire a physical copy.
Ah, fantastic.
That'd be awesome.
It must
Yes,
be. Sorry, I was just going to say, it must be so nice to walk into a bookstore and see your own book there.
Yes, it is. It's certainly nice to see. It's not present in many, obviously, but it's still nice to have a thing. The pros. It's funny. I'd actually encourage anyone who is listening to this and is even thought about how cool it would be to write a book. Personally, I found out why I wanted to write my book and decided to write my book while I was cleaning. I used to do cleaning as a job, and while I was cleaning, I literally thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool if there was a book that was like a diary of sorts, and it's that contained the ramblings of a mad necromancer, and it had everything in it. It had all the things that a necromancer would do, and it would have all this different information. And this would be both an in-universe fictional thing, but it would also be an encyclopedia to people who don't know about it.
I actually had a similar experience when I was in high school working at the tuck shop, where I was literally sitting there just after doing inventory. I wasn't allowed to leave, even though I'd already finished, so I'd always be spending at least an extra 30 minutes just sitting there doing nothing, just sitting and waiting for my shift to end. And I had this thought in my head, because back then I was kind of into the whole like occult shit, because my boyfriend at the time was also into the occult shit, so we were both.
I think
really...
we're all interested in the occult shit. Don't try to.
And I thought,
try to
like,
equivocate.
what if I wrote like I should do like a journal type book that's sort of like, I should write a book that's sort of a journal about like a cultist that recruits a bunch of followers in order to sort of bring in like a demonic lord into the real world. Yeah.
Yes. And it's when you have those moments of inspiration, you just think to yourself, you actually think to yourself, man, I wish something like that existed. But then you realize it doesn't. So at that point, you then think to yourself, well, why don't I make it? And quite honestly,
that was the whole impetus of me making my own band.
That's what fiction is for.
And the Cheb Gonaz channel too. Yes.
Yes.
Cheers.
It's very much the type of thing where books are. If you're not used to writing, books are difficult to write because it is just the nature of how it is. I mean, God, my book's at, I think, around 266 pages off the top of my head. That's a lot of writing. But I found the best way to write it was to do it as a hobby rather than as a job. So I took an hour out of each day, and I told myself, this is my writing hour. Anything outside of this, I don't do. I get up, and I dedicate this entire hour to just writing, or until the end of a chapter, at which point it feels like a proper time to stop, so I stop. And so that's what I did. I also made it the first thing I do in the morning, because I basically, instead of have my breakfast, get myself up and ready, and then get into writing hour, and then not allow myself to play games or do whatever until after the writing hour is finished. And by forcing myself into that, it kind of became a routine, so it didn't feel bad. And I was able to write around 1,000 to 2,000 words each hour, entirely depending on how creative I was feeling. And doing that, I was able to write the book in about 1 or 2 months. And that process was simple enough that it was able to get me into the style of writing, get me the idea of writing. And it helped me to basically understand that I enjoy doing it. And that's really where the inspiration and why I'm proud of the book sort of came from. Just being able to know that I made something and I was able to do so without completely losing my mind.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I did a lot of writing when I was younger, but I definitely fell out of it. It's definitely been a hard time to get back into it and keep actually writing instead of just kind of clicking on YouTube, reading a different book or listening to a different book or a song or a podcast or something.
Yeah, so, I highly encourage anyone who's either writing a book or wants to write a book. The best advice I can give is, one, get a routine, or make yourself a routine, because then it will become just like another part of your day. So it won't feel like it's something that's annoying you. It's something that you're just used to. So you'll get to it. And there might be days where you just feel like, I really don't want to write my book, or today I'm done. I don't have any energy to do my book. That's fine. You just take that as a day off, and like you would a job. And in fact, I treated it a lot like a job, like a 1 hour a day job type of deal, where you get through it and then you're done, and then you can continue with the rest of your day doing your fun things. And that's how I found it. The second thing is, I'd always tell people, don't expect to go into writing expecting to make money, because I think the thing that a lot of writers get on their mind is they need to figure out the best way to get the most amount of people to get the most amount of money. Something that I've known from my background, my education background as a media consultant, a lot of success from things like this don't come from what's written. It comes from how good your PR team is. And that's something you have to pay for. You have to put money in to get that kind of money out of it.
See, this is the argument that I was having with my roommate the other night, because he said that the reason I wasn't going to be successful with my book was because, and this was what he said. He said it was because I was writing for myself instead of writing, for what, was profitable,
I'm sure he's the expert on what people want to read.
That's shit.
His movies have never been seen by mortal eyes. Only by teenagers that want to make fun of him.
It's the type of thing where if you want to write something that you're passionate about, you go ahead and do so. and don't expect yourself to be successful. What you need to do is just write something for the sake of writing. Hell, I've made the money back that I put in because I had help with an editor and help with an artist when I
That's awesome.
So that's whatever. So, but I haven't made a massive profit from it. But well, I'm making it over time. It's the type of thing that's a long burn.
Oh,
You're in the positive now, though.
Yes.
Even my
That's awesome,
audiobook
man.
has been like
That's
a long
great.
process, and I'm up to about 76 pages right now, and 8 chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
It's
how was the editing process?
So editing was done as a mixture between myself and an editor that I hired. Also, another big hint, I guess, tip. We'll call it a tip.
Yep.
Fiverr is brilliant. You will find editors on there who will help you, and they are brilliant at their job. Now, I've had some issues with editors, but that's just how the nature of it is. But in terms of actual editing, they're very professional. They're very good with their job. If you're looking for somewhere for independent, that's what you're wanting to do. And I've heard
some awesome music from Fiverr.
Yeah, it's all because they are also doing this as their own independent slice of life work, and it's brilliant to see. The art was all done by a talented artist from the Middle East in my book, and it's fantastic the illustrations that he's done for my book.
Sounds like someone's tapping a mic there. What's that?
That was Jinx, I think.
Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't me. Like, I was looking over to see who the hell was tapping the mic, and I noticed only Jinx's mic was lit.
Ah, okay.
Perhaps this is this sounding right now?
I don't hear it right now.
Okay. Well, I mean, my cat has decided to jump up and say hello. So.
Oh, it must be the kitty. Yeah, sounds like a cat for sure.
What's its name?
This is Tom, and Tom is currently biting his nails. So
there was a witch's cackle.
So yeah, I think that getting help when you're with the book for that is a good thing, and for the actual editing itself, it was mainly just look. Obviously, there's a lot of words. There's like over 40,000 words in this book, and that's a lot. So there are mistakes that's made every so often, and it's good to have a couple people look it over just to make sure, because again, you're biased, so you'll look it over and go, but it's fine, it's just a thing I can live with. It's how I write. But that's not
the thing I do.
That's the thing I do when but you don't want to be the thing you do. You want it to be proper. So that's why you get people to look over it.
I was just saying a thing I do when I'm
you want to make sure it's flowing. Like, I can be very arrogant with how I write, because I will always think that I know better, even though I probably don't. But like, I dealt with one editor who he had worked in the horror community for like people who wrote like creepypastas, and he said he willingly volunteered and said, "Let me take a look at your work." And he went through and just, he wasn't brutal. He was mostly correcting grammar, but there was one other thing that sort of that popped in, and he mentioned it to me as like, this is really, really, really hard to read through. And he explained why. It's like, this flow is not very good. And he didn't quite explain how it wasn't good, and that's what kind of bothered me. And it sort of stuck with me ever since. And I've managed to find a means to sort of correct some of the flow. It's not perfect for some, because I kind of want to convey things in a certain way. Because I have dyslexia, it's difficult for me to read things. It's even more difficult for me to, how to, like, pick out dialogue and put it in places where it should. And it's one of the reasons I struggle with flow. Because I'm doing something from not being able to read.
Yeah, let's make it challenging.
Oh, yeah.
Well, one of the things that I do to review my own stuff is I have this program. It's called Read Aloud.
I got that too. I actually installed that as part of an extension with Google Docs, and holy shit, is it a godsend.
Yeah,
like,
but I read I read most of my stories on this thing because you can alter the pronunciation. But I actually listen to my own stories back, and it's so much easier to catch typos to this thing because it says the word. It just says it binarily. You know, it's either the word or it's not, and you're like, oh, that was wrong. Go back and fix that.
Yeah.
You hear it.
Okay, so real talk. You know, I'm here to approach that space and be that person. But what is one of what is your gripes with when you're writing? One of your really bad habits that you usually do when you're writing. This is also for Jinx and for Sidehammer. What are what are the common mistakes you always make when writing?
For me, it would be correct comma usage. I've got a history with underutilizing my commas, which is why I need. And I've worked on that with my editor because they were able to point out for me the amount there was usage for me. Using the correct Oxford comma is incredibly useful when you're writing something of such a caliber, especially in such a big project.
Did they ever start singing the Chameleon song? It was like, comma, 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 chameleon.
Oh my god.
I was just thinking of that earlier today because of a comma.
Comma, 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 comma.
And I think they're
commas in here. What is wrong with you? Comma, 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 comma.
I think they're saying karma, aren't they?
No, just comma.
Is it comma?
I don't know.
I was wondering that to myself today.
I just thought that they were just saying like just the beginning of chameleon, but they were just being stupid about it.
Okay.
Cause like that's the deal with pop songs; they're stupid.
Yes, they are.
But yeah, what about you,
Sidehammer? You mean like in the technical sense of writing, or just like in the way I put things together?
What's your biggest
Nowadays it's actually sitting down and writing. Nowadays it's sitting down and writing, like getting it out. That's the hardest part. I've been so stuck in world building hell for like, I don't know, 15 years now. It's been terrible. Like back when I started, it was just like it was like this exploration of this beautiful thing. I had no idea what I was doing, but everything was cool, and I wrote a lot. I wrote like 1,000-page book about this fantasy world I created, a beautiful map written out. It was all good, but I wrote it on my parents' old PC, the PC with the whole family used to have, and then we got a new PC and a new one, so it was 2 generations back, and then it died and I lost all of it.
Uh-oh.
And then I tried to rewrite it, and it did not come out because it was just no fun anymore. So that was that was back when I was 20 and I'm not 20 anymore. And recently trying to recapture that old sublimity, you know, that feeling, the good feeling of writing. Actually wrote about 2,500 pages today, or 2,500 words today.
You wrote 2,500 pages and call you a wizard.
I think you managed to get around like 50 words a day because I spend so much time rewriting stuff. But yeah, should I just go to my gripes? Yeah, my biggest flaws with writing or whatever. I suck at beginnings. I can start in the middle. I can start with just whatever. When making an actual beginning to something, oh man, I suck. The other thing is I have this nasty habit of writing too fast. When I just have this idea in my head, I want to get it down really quickly. And then it not only misses a whole bunch of grammar, I forget a whole bunch of grammar. It's not even just like misspelt shit, but like just bad grammar coupled with missing words. Like, there were points where I was tired and I had this image, this, like, scene in my head that I wanted to write out. So I wrote it down really quickly and went to bed. Woke up the next morning, read what I write, and it was completely illegible. Because it was missing, like, 5 critical words where it was, she had gone into the other room and found and it had brought her to the, and then the, to the Alahaster was standing behind her, a look of the.
May
What the hell did I just write?
I ask
delete.
how
I'm
much
sure this will come
weed
back
was
later.
involved? Can I ask how much weed was involved in such late night ramblings?
Oh, probably a lot, but actually, I think I drink more alcohol when I'm writing.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that can do it too.
There isn't. I'm probably taking off a very specific writer now that I think about it. I'm trying to think. Who was a writer that was notorious for being like a, an unapologetic alcoholic? Was it?
Most of them.
Because Stephen King did a lot of cocaine and wrote. That's the thing.
But cocaine is good.
Oh yeah, like I couldn't afford cocaine.
Hell no.
Nope.
It's too like in this day and age, I can't even afford food. What makes you think I can afford cocaine?
Yeah, food is really.
I'm basically a teetotaler. I don't drink anything except I just smoke cigarettes. And sugar. I eat a lot of sugar. I shouldn't eat sugar.
Well, sugar's a good for like coping. It releases the dopamine, but in a minor state. So.
So.
Cheb, you should make a. Oh, sorry. Go
ahead.
Oh, okay. Cheb, you gotta make just like a writer's channel in this thing, so we can just like if Rambles needs some help, we can just like, hey, I'll look at your thing and do it, and then
like a private place to post it, maybe. Like just make it something with like a role, so people need help with writing, they can ask other people who are writing.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was kind of going for with world building.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if that's too broad or not accurate enough. I don't know. Is that no good?
I don't think so. Like, I think world building is really good because I feel like world building is also kind of like a resource for some people, so you can write some ideas down and whoever wants to, like, use it, they're welcome to. That's partly why I got really high that one day and then wrote, like, an entire expletive on trolls and where trolls came from.
Expletive on trolls? You know what an expletive is?
Jinx remembers it. I was so high that day.
Yes, I do remember this.
Alrighty then.
Yeah.
So
maybe just a writer's channel.
Oh no, wait! I was drunk that day. I wasn't high. I was pissed drunk because I found the vodka and the orange juice.
Screwdriver.
I find writing to be really difficult. I used to try it when I was younger, and I didn't really get anywhere. Like, I'd always write stuff and be like really dissatisfied with it, and I could never think up a proper plot or anything. And in the end, I decided that programming is easier.
Oh yeah, because you have a technical brain. Your brain sort of centers around sort of logic and math, and I think you do appreciate aesthetic, but it's not your forte, and I really respect the fact that you are very aware of it, because I know a lot of other people who had that logic brain concept where it's all about, that, what is it, totalitarian aspect, where it's just, what we can, making things conservative and utilized, none of this, no fluff, just what we need,
Yeah.
If functional. I don't care if it's ugly, make it functional.
Yeah, that's like utilitarian, I think, something.
Yeah, utilitarian. That's what I was thinking. Trying to think that's something else. That's.
Yeah, that's more like sort of certain governments.
Tyranny.
Yeah.
Tyrannus. Terminus.
Oh yeah, and
I brought it back.
You're still you're still like the fact that you're still like open to like people being creative and making creative choices is still good though. You're better than that. You're better than most of the ones I've met. Whereas those are just. I actually met somebody who had like the logical mindset of utilitarian stuff, and he found my writings in my Discord server, and he asked about it, but he asked it in kind of the most like pessimistic, cynical way anybody could possibly ask. And he asked, "What is this for? Why did you make this?" And I said, "Oh, this is the lore for my world. I'm just, I'm writing down every thought that I have so that people can add in and tune in and think it's cool, And he turned like, no, like, what is the point of all of it? What point are you trying to make? And I couldn't answer it. And he turned around and answered, "So you're making this for no reason."
How about for fun? Like, why does it have to be a reason?
That's an asshole.
He didn't understand what was fun about it. He said it was stupid.
You know a lot of assholes.
Yeah.
I've been friends with way too many assholes.
Yeah. Every story from Rabbles about like the people that she knows, it's just like a whole heap of assholes. It's like, where do you meet these people?
Sorry, go ahead. I don't mean to talk over you.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, like, where do you meet these people?
It's just, it must be just a thing for, like, people who are, like, people of that mindset. Whenever they look at me, I don't think they see me as a person. I think they just see me as a resource. Like, they just see me, and the first thing that they think of is, how can I utilize this individual? Because they come from the mindset of another man's trailer trash wife is another man's, potential minion. And then they try to utilize me, and I can't really be utilized for anything. It's like how those corporations tried to utilize Trump in the office, and he ended up taking a shit on everything because he didn't act like a sock puppet. Yeah. Is that oh god, we turned back into politics again. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Cheb, is there any questions from viewers in the comments about the book? Or any comments or any questions that you guys have?
Yes.
They weren't asking anything much. There were some questions about the Elder Scrolls, but I told them that we actually covered this in the last podcast. Their exact questions about... Yeah, I've still got to put that up publicly. But viewers, do you have any questions about Jinx's book? As for me...
Now we gotta wait half an hour for them to read it.
Yeah. As for me, my next question would be like, is there a sequel? Or something? Like...
Do you have any questions about my trauma? No.
Is there a sequel? At the moment, no. At the moment, I still need to get the audiobook set up.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I've been sidetracked with work and being unable to get access to a proper recording studio for getting the audiobook recorded. I have a recorder and able to get everything sorted for that end of things. It's just getting access to areas to record and actually getting around to it when I actually have some free time. But that will be something that will eventually come around. And after that, I don't know. I don't think there's anything really more to explore in terms of necromancy guidebooks like this.
Yeah.
But if there is anything to do with this, it would be centered around the character of Master Tyrannus. Actually, something that someone commented and let me know in review of my book said that they got very Emperor Palpatine vibes from Master Tyrannus. That might be something fun to explore at a later point. But for the moment, the book is just as it is, standalone.
Ironically, wasn't Count Dooku's name Darth Tyrannus?
Was he? That might be news to me.
Oh, yeah. Count Dooku's Darth name is Darth Tyrannus.
Oh, well, there you go.
I thought that was what you were going for when I read it on your book. When I read it on the Amazon.
No,
page.
this is news to me.
Oh. Surprise! Sith are the closest thing to necromancers in Star Wars, I think.
Any other questions from anyone?
Oh, I've got no questions more.
Well, I would love to talk to you about the publishing aspect and all that stuff, but we could do that like off the podcast and stuff. Because I'm just fascinated by that.
Yeah, I've already had the discussion with Jinx about being able to self-publish myself. Because, like, not only do I have like 2 books, one has been benched for now until I could figure out how to rewrite it, but the other main one I'm working on, I have full intention of publishing myself. And I also have a comic series that I want to turn into a physical thing as well.
Well, Jinx, shoot me over like the first chapter or something, so I can take a look at it for you. I'll do a little beta read for you.
As in, you want to see it? You want to see a first chapter?
Yeah, like shoot me over a first chapter.
I mean, I could. Well, I mean, considering we are currently on an audio medium, I could do a reading for you if you like.
Ooh.
That might be a nice capstone to this little podcast if you'd like.
Yeah,
what
sure.
What do you say, Cheb? That sound good?
That sounds good to me. Yeah.
All right, I better get in character for this because this is basically an audiobook preview. Okay. So I guess this is just the introductory chapter to it. So this is the introductory chapter to the vile art of necromancy. Finally, it begins! The elixir has been adequately brewed to perfection, and I can taste the noxious fumes in the air. The correct incantations have been performed, and I feel my very soul rattling within this mortal cage that it currently resides. Very soon, I shall be free from the clutches of mortality and begin a new existence. No more will I have to face the troubles of keeping my body alive. Instead, I can focus on my studies and enact my grand plan. The fools at the Council of Mages called me mad, said that I would bring about the ruin of myself. But just look at me now. They will see. They will all see. Once the process is complete, I will show them how they should have heeded my warnings, and all will fear the power of the Grand Necromancer. However, I fear I have gotten ahead of myself. I believe introductions are in order. I am Master Tyrannus, Lord of the Undead, and Master of the School of Necromancy. This book shall be a collection of all that I have learned over my many years of study and research into the most incredible and powerful aspect of the world of magic, the vile art of necromancy. Many fear what dark secrets this section of the arcane practices brings to the world of the living, but through reading the pages here, you shall too see the beauty that life can bring, and wonder at the power that it can provide. As I write these words, my very body is changing and contorting, flesh is decaying, and what was once my frail and old form is transforming into something incredible. This grimoire, then, shall not just be a guide on the world of the dead, but it shall also be a culmination of my life's work. Should the process fail, and my soul passes into the next life, then let this be the legacy that the Grand Necromancer leaves behind to the world of mortality, with the hope that perhaps another can take up my mantle and achieve the path of transcendence through the teachings in this book. However, if I am to succeed, and all my years of slaughter and experimentation have been truly well spent, then this shall instead be the last of my notes that shall ever need to be written. As of the power that I will have, this world shall be ripe for the taking. I shall march entire armies of the dead onto the pitiful towns and degenerate cities, and all shall know terror when they see the deathly visage of Master Tyrannus. Alongside this, my writing shall be a collection of notes regarding the practices of necromancy within other worlds. My many magical talents have allowed me to project my own soul into dimensions and worlds that you would never believe. I have seen armadas of vampire pirates, talking dragons, demonic chefs, and even
an entire world in which all of the inhabitants are connected by a worldwide spanning web. Such realities are incredible, and I have made several revelations and advanced the dark sciences from observing the practices and denizens of these worlds too. So, with that, if you are prepared to witness true horrors, dark truths, and even more wicked epiphanies, then continue reading, but be wary of what you might uncover, as not all mortal minds are prepared for the knowledge contained within these pages.
Wow.
It's really
Applause,
good.
applause. Jesus.
I love the passion in it.
That was great, man.
Thank you.
You got a theater background? Yeah?
No,
That was
just
great.
I have a voice for radio, I've been told.
Yeah, it's
That was-
good, dude.
That was a
Yeah.
performance.
Bro.
Well, if you want to
Bravo,
read
man.
more about this, then be sure to pick yourself up a copy and keep an eye out for when the audiobook finally gets around to being completed. It might be a while, but nonetheless, it hopefully will be an enjoyable listen.
Hey,
Yeah,
bro,
that'd be a hell of a
like,
thing.
at some point, man, like, that would be a great way for Cheb to advertise audible.com.
This video is sponsored by Audible.
Hey, if you get that as a sponsorship, then dude.
Hell yeah. Get that audible money, man.
I think,
They
like,
treat their authors like hell, but
for next
that money.
episode, I'm like, you know, I will be talking about like the first draft of my book. So,
Lovely to hear. I look forward to hearing it.
Jinx, I know has read a little bit of it when it was first pumped out, and then Sidehammer, I think I just sent you a link just now. So
thanks. Sorry, yeah. I'll grab it in a second.
my book
Definitely
is not necessarily going to be as extravagant as Jinx's, because it's written from the perspective of a teenager, kind of. She's 17, so it's yeah. The main character is a 17-year-old who's still in high school, but on the cusp of graduating.
Yeah.
And yeah, she I don't want to spoil too much, but she basically, you know, runs into an ugly boy, makes fun of her, or makes fun of him, and then shit blows up. Possessed doll gets thrown into another world. She gets isekai'd, so to speak.
Well, I'm looking
Well,
forward.
don't
to
spoil it.
hearing
I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, though it takes a little while before it reaches that point. Yeah.
Okay. Don't apologize for your work before I read it. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'll get it.
On that note, I'm going to be making a jump from the podcast. But thank you very much, Cheb.
You're welcome. Thanks for telling us all about your book.
That's quite
Yeah, it
all
was good
right.
hearing about it.
So yeah, conclusion. Yeah. So,
yeah. Jinx, you should go and comment with the link to your book.
I shall go do so. I will jump out of the stream and I will go leave a comment.
Yeah, I'll sticky it.
Right. Thank you very much, everyone, for letting me indulge in my my work.
Yeah.
No, it was great, man.
Enjoy the rest of
You
your
have a good
time.
one, bro.
with this. Thank you.
You too. Bye, everyone.
hey, cool.
We're still recording?
Not anymore.